Hey, I'm Dave from Discs Dyed by Dave, and today I'm going to show you my tried and true method of perfectly centering a stencil on a disc every time. It can be the most frustrating thing in the world when you took all that time to get a perfect stencil only to botch it up when you put it on your disc. Even if it's a little off, your OCD self will never let it go. Luckily for you, there's actually an easy way to get it perfectly centered so you can sleep easy at night. And I'm going to show you in detail how to do that from start to finish. There are many ways to do this, and what I'm about to show you is my preferred method. Is it the best way or correct way? I don't know, but it's been working for me with great success. The main items you need is some sort of laser.
Are those sharks with laser beams attached to their heads?
Any laser will do as long as you can have it pointing downward on your workspace. I'll have links to everything I used in the video in the description below. All right, let's get started. I have a Cricut maker, so I'll be using Cricut Design Space to import my design. The first thing that I do is I insert my design, and I'm going to scale it down to a reasonable size for now. Then I'm going to insert a circle that is going to be the diameter of my disc, and I found 8.3 seems to be a good diameter for all the discs that I found. We're going to move this layer below, quickly change the color so I can see it better. I'm going to select both items, align center and align vertically. Most of the time that works. If it doesn't, like in this instance, you can rearrange and position where you would like the stencil to be on the disc. You can also adjust the size if you want it bigger or smaller. So I'm happy with the position of the artwork on the disc. Now I'm going to add another circle, and this is going to be my centering dot. I change the size to 0.03 inches. While that is selected, I select the disc outline and I hit align horizontal and align vertical, and that makes the little dot right in the center of where I want it to be. Then I'm going to hide my outline of the disc. Then I'm going to select both my artwork and the dot, and I'm going to hit attach, and that is going to attach them so they'll cut on the same mat. Then I hit make. Then on the mat I use a 12 by 12 sheet of vinyl, so I'm going to center this as best as I can. It doesn't need to be perfect, so you can't see that dot, but that dot will be cut. If it's going to be where you want the die, great. If not, I usually cover it up with another spare piece of vinyl so it doesn't bleed through. And you hit continue, and you will make your stencil. All right, I have my stencil cut out, and I have my laser set up, and where that laser is where it cut that little circle that I set up. It's hard to see on the camera, but what I do before I put the transfer tape is I find that center, and I just mark it and poke a hole in there. I do that because when I apply the transfer paper, I know exactly where the center is. I'm gonna mark a dot on that. The transfer paper that I'm going to use, I will link in the description below, but it comes in this giant roll, and it's not super tacky, but tacky enough to grab the vinyl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly grab out the amount that I need. Doesn't need to be perfect or exact. What I like to do is I like to stick just a little bit at a time, and I line it up as best as I can. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. And I work one side from the other. And I have this squeegee, and what I do is I go along and apply the backing paper. You want to work from the center out to make sure not to get any air bubbles, and I like this transfer paper because it's really hard to get air bubbles. You just go all the way along. It doesn't need to be perfect because my design's in the center. I'm going to go with my harder side and press down just to make sure I got good adhesion. I'm going to grab my smaller one, go over it a second time to make sure I have nice adhesion between the backing paper and the vinyl. So I can't see on the top of the transfer paper where my hole was, and that's why I poked a little hole so I can poke it again so I know exactly where on the transfer paper that is. Then, since that hole is also hard to see, I take a Sharpie and I make a dot of where that's going to be. Now that I have the dot of where the center of the stencil is, I am going to take the backing paper off the vinyl, and we're slowly going to peel it off, and I like to peel the backing paper off at a sharp angle to reduce any of the vinyl sticking to the backing paper. If it does, go back with the squeegee in the trouble spot to make sure it sticks to the transfer paper, not the backing paper. Backing paper has been removed from the vinyl. We'll move this to the side. We'll grab our disc, then we're going to center the laser on the exact center of the disc. Now we're going to take our vinyl, and while above the disc, make sure when you lower it that the laser is in the center of the dot that we made earlier. And we want to gently lower until it makes contact, then gently lower the vinyl onto the disc. Then what you want to do is you want to work from the inside out and start rubbing down the vinyl to make adhesive contact with the disc. You want to go from the inside out, so if there is any air bubbles, you can push them out. You want to do it gently at first, then you want to apply more pressure as you go. Once I rubbed it down with my finger, I'll grab my squeegee tool and I'll go once around, again a little bit harder to make sure the vinyl is sticking to the disc. Once I feel like the inside's good, then I take my fingers on the outside of the rim and make sure it is sticking on the side of the rim for now. And now I'm going to remove the backing paper from the vinyl. And just like the backing paper, I like to go at a sharp angle to reduce any of the vinyl sticking to the transfer tape. If the vinyl does stick to the transfer tape for whatever reason, just go back, push down with the squeegee, and try again at a sharp angle. If that doesn't work, try pulling at a different angle as well. And I'm just going to pull over the excess vinyl. It gives me a handle to hold on to when I hot dip it. And there you go, perfectly centered stencil. If you found this content helpful, please give this video a like and consider subscribing so you never miss the latest and greatest disc dyeing videos.